I truly believe we live in the most fascinating time known to man. Think about it. If you wanted to impact 1 million people's lives just 200 years ago, you needed to be the emperor of an empire. If you wanted to impact 1 million people's lives just 20 years ago, you needed to be the prime minister of a country. Today, you can impact 1 billion people's lives in your pajamas on your toilet. What you send to them is your choice. But the trick really is for us to impact this future, we need to start asking better questions. Einstein said it best. He said, if I was given 20 minutes to come up with a solution, I would spend 19 minutes devising the question and 1 minute answering it. What I want us to do today is get to understand that gamification is going to be touching every aspect of our lives. And the questions we ask today will determine the success we have when we're engaging with our consumers and our employees as we move forward. I'm going to do 3 things with you in the next 13 minutes and 53 seconds. I'm going to tell you why gamification is already inherent in us as human beings. I'm also going to talk about what companies are doing amazing things with gamification and what impact it has on their business. And thirdly, I'm going to tell you the future of gamification and why I really believe that it's going to be the future of every touch point of what consumers and employees have. So let's get stuck in. And really, the whole point of this is, what is gamification? What is it all about? And I guarantee that we've all actually gamified something in our lives. This is me walking to school. Boring ass walk to school. We remember it back in the day before everything was under high walls and fences. But while I was walking to school, just to make it more interesting, I had to create a little game. And the game was all about the lava that was going through the tiles. And I couldn't touch the lava. I had to move around it. And I had to make sure that I added even more complexity to it. And I started running through the process and making sure that I wasn't getting burnt. This process we've all really done here. So really, inherently, we are all gamification experts. We set rules and we define the challenges. Gamification 101. Also, another thing is that I hated cleaning my room, like I'm sure a lot of you did. But I did love chocolates and pocket money. This is me in my room, really not wanting to clean anything, and I was always protesting it. And then one day, I came out into the kitchen, and on the fridge, my mom had become a gamification expert. What she had done is put up a star chart, and in the star chart, I was able to determine how well I was doing in this game. She tricked me. She bloody tricked me. And in the star chart, this swear word that was cleaning the room, all of a sudden became a goal-setting exercise, variation in my goals, and a feedback session. All of a sudden, I loved cleaning my room because I was being rewarded for it. And this combination always made the task more interesting for us. Gamification 102, our moms were all gamification experts. In this process, I was able to achieve my goals better. I knew when I had to do them. I understood a sense of competition. And I also could get feedback either from a clap or a chocolate. So gamification 102, we see that goal tracking was a reality from a very young age. Variety of chores were available to us. Feedback statuses were there from 5 years old. And lastly, tracking the progress was really important for us. Last story. See this house in a tree? It wasn't the one I built. The one I built was a lot shitter than that. But what used to happen in this tree house was a lot of magic, right? We used to go in there and play like innocent games. Wrong. There were intricate murders in this place. We used to play doctor with girls, obviously. And who was the boss of the sort of space, right? And in this space, I realized that even in our own world of creating these imaginative places, we were all gamification experts at heart. We were all about play, explore, and discover. And when I started putting this talk together, I started realizing that really the things that we were doing as kids were all about gamification. So the gamification aspect and how it's going to affect us moving forward into the future are inherent in us already as human beings. But where did it all start? The idea of gamification, or as Lee had a new word, Fidgetal. There's new words all over the place. And gamification was actually invented by this gentleman here. He coined it in 2002. And gamification was really about taking the game mechanics and applying it to something serious in order to motivate people moving forward. And the first time we see in recorded history that gamification became a structure was in the Soviet Union, when this cat over here wanted to create a new form of recognition for the staff or the employees of the state without giving them cash. And the first hipster gamification consultant arrived. His name's J.V. Stalin. And he also was the whole process behind rewarding people without monification. And they came up with this great idea. And it's all about increasing productions by giving them this medal, like a chocolate or a sweet, like my mom did. Order over the red Labour banner was really the beginnings of gamification. And because I've got 9 minutes left, I'm not going to be able to give you any others. Let's talk about which companies have done amazing things with gamification as now in modern times. And we see that the first company that actually introduced it into the consumer space was American Airlines. How many of you got air miles here right now? Hands up, hands up. We're all playing games already, and we love them, don't we? We also see that Holiday Inn in 1983 then introduced it in the loyalty fashion. We see that National Car Agency introduced it into the sort of car rental space. And the American Army jumped on this in 2002 and created a whole game where people could experience the Army and in the space in a game format before they even joined. We also see that science is now using gamification to solve a whole bunch of problems that weren't able to be solved before. And something Eskom should be picking up on, O-Power, the game that helps families compare themselves to each other and how much little game power that they're actually using. Currently, right now, we're seeing some amazing results from gamification. The first one that I really love is McDonald's till training games. What they did was, because of the game they introduced, to shave off 7 seconds from every single customer that came. They made £23.7 million a year based on all their McDonald's from shaving 7.9 seconds off each customer that arrived through a game. We also see that Nike did this amazingly well by creating communities of runners around the world and making us fitter, run faster through the process of gamification. LinkedIn was able to get a whole bunch of people to sign up to become all-stars, and through the process you were able to be seen by everybody on LinkedIn. And if you didn't fill in and play this game, you were actually held back from being seen by everybody. We see that Discovery is now larger than both Liberty and MMI combined and is a fraction of the age, all based on the fact that they've gamified health. In fact, I don't even think Discovery is an insurance company. They're a gamification platform that happens to sell insurance. And we see that Brush Monkey really is now starting to make gamification aspects into the household. This kid can now brush his teeth. It's connected to the phone. He can watch the monkey dance, and he can't stop brushing his teeth until the monkey has stopped dancing. Every single touch point of our lives will be rewarded, recognized, and gamified. Let's talk about the future as we start moving into it. And they reckon that every aspect of our lives, even cutting cucumber, will become a game for us in order to start being rewarded and recognized. But let's move into the future. And all of this is really powered by computing power. And the latest thing we have with computing power is quantum computers. And quantum computers is really what's going to be the game changer in this process. Read with me from Singularity University in San Francisco. This is what they write about quantum computers. Development of a quantum computer would mark a leap forward in computing capability far greater than that from the abacus to a modern-day supercomputer, with performance gains in the billion-fold realm and beyond. One sentence there. Forward in computing capability far greater than that from the abacus to a modern-day supercomputer. That's how much faster quantum computing is going to be, and it's just around the corner. This is the fastest computer we have on Earth at the moment. It's in China, and it needs its own nuclear reactor to power up. This is a quantum computer, and it uses a pittance of power compared, and it does things billions of times faster. Together with quantum computing, we have the launch of something called Internet Protocol 6, which moved from Internet Protocol 4. They skipped 5 for some reason. I have no idea why, but read with me. Internet Protocol 4 allowed for 4.5 billion devices to be connected to the net. With Protocol 6, we'll have the ability to connect 78 octillion devices. That 78 billion devices will be connected to the net, meaning that everything from plates, pacemakers, literally every grain of sand on earth can have its own IP address. Welcome to the Internet of Things. This, together with quantum computers, with communication becoming almost free for us. In fact, it will be free in 5 years thanks to Google's Loon project, Tesla's 4,425 satellites, and Facebook's solar drones, as well as Virgin. Together, what they're doing is blanketing our Earth to give us all free, fast Wi-Fi, together with India's first $2 smartphone that's just been launched. Same smartphone you have in your pocket that costs 10 to 20,000 Rand, just for $2, is going to be the game changer that's going to allow us to access every touch point of our lives. And this is what the stats look like. In 2010, there were 1.8 billion people connected to the net. This year, there's 3 billion people connected to the net. And in the next 5 to 7 years, we'll have 8 billion people connected to the internet. Don't forget, you're on your toilet in your pajamas. You have access to all these people, the biggest market ever known to man. And what's happening through this process is that we are changing our relationship to the internet. We are changing and getting to know digitization and technology a lot better. In 1998, when it was just coming out, the rule was don't get into a stranger's car and definitely don't meet people from the internet. Remember that? When you're on a chat room thinking you're talking to some hot chick, and it wasn't. What's happened now in 2017 is that because we're starting to get to know the internet better, these are the rules. Literally call a stranger from the internet and get into their car. It's called Uber. You see, we're getting to grow up with the internet now. What this is really doing is the fact that it's changing our needs and expectations as human beings. What we expect from businesses has shifted. The 5 need states that we're starting to see grow around the world are: 1, hyper-personalization. We love brands that can think for us, preempt what we want before we know that we want it. Amazon, a winner at this. Hyper-trust. Woolworths spends millions of rands a year to create trust with us and them, so that when they sell us celery for $18.95, that same celery is $8.95 at Pick n Pay, we buy it. When they release a new dessert that we can't pronounce, we buy it. It's all hyper trust, and they do it well. Hyper convenience, again, Amazon becoming the first $1 trillion business ever in the history of man and humanity, are kings at this with the launch of Amazon Go. Hyper convenience, no tills, no tellers around the place, and you leave straight away. Hyper value and transparency, we demand it from governments and organizations. We don't let anybody get by without it. And lastly, and the point for this talk, is hyper recognition. Instant gratification. We are suffering from this new disease of selfie sticks. I was in Greece last year. I saw some Chinese people. I have never seen the art of selfies like this in my life. If you've ever seen international Chinese people travel, please watch them. It is really something amazing. And obviously, who's posted on Facebook today already? How many likes have you got and how many shares have you got? Something that's very, very important to us. This, plus the fact that all the big boys are starting to get into augmented reality, virtual reality, and the likes. Well, we're starting to see even Apple starting to move into this world, but none of them are as exciting as this one. It is called Magic Leap. And Magic Leap is the world's most secretive startup by the name of Ronnie Abovitz. And what they say is that his company is already worth $4.5 billion. He hasn't even launched a product. He's had $1.4 billion invested into his business with the likes of Google, Alibaba, and the who's who in Silicon Valley. And what's going to be happening is that they reckon that his invention that comes out in 16 months is going to disrupt the cell phone industry, the flat screen industry, and pretty much every technology that we know is going to be disrupted by Magic Leap. This, plus the fact that Samsung is now taken the patent out on contact lenses that will bring the screens even closer to us. We see this sort of scenario happening.
Hi, Daphne. How are you? Sorry.
It's okay.
You look great.
Thank you. Love your jacket.
Thanks. It's a sports jacket, so it's a lot less official than it looks.
What do you mean?
Sorry?
What's the difference between a sports jacket and a normal one?
I guess a sports jacket is for people who want to look good even when they're chased by the police.
Oh. Yeah.
He's already posted it. Another bad
Anyway,
day.
I hope you're hungry. This
Yeah.
place has the best burgers in town.
Oh, actually, I'm vegetarian.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? Because you didn't say it on your profile, so.
Well, I don't write everything on my profile, so.
You get the picture. I've got a lot of these videos. The truth is every single touch point of our lives is going to be gamified. 1, we do it naturally already. 2, our need states are moving towards a place where hyper recognition, hyper reward, and gamification is becoming more and more important for us. We see the major organizations around the world are dropping their annual appraisals, quarterly appraisals as well. It needs to be instant. And thirdly, with quantum computing coming up and Magic Leap, when all the gamification and augmented reality will be right here next to our eyes, I have no doubt it will become the future. So don't forget, we play them inherently. Some major organizations are having some major wins because of it. All industries are starting to use it, all the way from nursing to KFC to the army. We're starting to see that quantum computing is about to start getting launched. Selfie sticks and hyper recognition is becoming a disease that we all have. And lastly, Magic Leap is about to launch and going to change everything. I hope you're ready to ask a new question about gamification. Thank you for your time. Cheers. I'm so very enthused about speaking about the future, but somehow the future gets lost when the default notion of the world's perspective is that life is a game. You see, the future gets lost when you think life is a game. I totally disagree with the fact that life is a game. Let me explain why. As human beings, what we have is a clear opportunity to make decisions from 3 different parts of our bodies. The first one is the logical decision, the decision that education has always told us to take. Remember when you told your dad you wanted to be a doctor and your dad said, no. I mean, you told your dad you want to be an actor and your dad said, no, you mean doctor, not actor. That's the logical decision about preparing for the future. The second part of our body that we can make decisions from is the primal desire of more. Always constantly needing more stuff, more recognition. And both of these parts of our bodies get us to think that life is a game. But if we start making decisions with our hearts, our curiosity and our intuition, we start to see that the rules don't actually apply like they do to a game. And the question we need to be asking ourselves is this, are you running away from the darkness or are you running towards the light? You see, from the outside, it's exactly the same. The person is energized, focused, moving towards something, but one of them is fueled by anxiousness and one of them is fueled by excitement. Now, the default button that's happened around the world is that we all default to anxiousness for some reason. We think it's a normal state to be anxious. And so when I talk about the future, and when you're anxious about your life in the future, it falls on deaf ears. And if you are running away from the darkness, these are the certain things that you'll be suffering from. 1, you'll always be running out of time. There's never enough time throughout the day, and that I hear everywhere. Also, you're always constantly worried about safety of yourself, your family, and everything around you. Thirdly, you're always continuously trying to escape the rat race. Everybody's got this 5-year plan to move to the coast, but nobody actually gets there. And fourth, it's always about my physical survival, not the team. I don't have time for collaboration. I've got to keep safe when I'm in a state of anxiousness. But if we had to shift the way we make decisions, we have to utilize a different part of our body, we start moving towards something rather than running away from something. And this is moving towards the light. The context of our lives start to change. All of a sudden, time becomes my friend. I'm mostly feeling safe and calm in my world. I've built a life I don't actually need to escape from. There was a great meme on Instagram the other day that said, Mondays don't suck, your life does. And in this state, the only thing we can do is look after the tribe. We become secondary just naturally when we start making decisions from different places. And somehow, the world has created this notion that ambition, this thing that we all strive to be, is the need for perfection with a massive dose of impatience. Anybody sitting here with their leg tapping? That's massive loads of impatience, waiting for perfection, which we never actually get to. This anxious energy, this need for more, has created something called short-termism. This short-termism has created incredible havoc in the environment. A total disengaged workforce. According to Gallup, it's like 16% of us are actually engaged at work. A total inability to innovate when we're anxious, and don't think for a second that you're being creative when you're anxious. It's exactly the opposite, actually. Never mind the customer, it's always going to be about profit and needing more. The customer always comes second to a CEO that's anxious about the business. And definitely increasing income inequality through the process of greed, wanting for more. Now, I travel around the world and I see this pretty much in every country that I visit. And I think it's sad because I think there's a new opportunity for us to wake up to. In this anxiousness, we've created a society that's addicted to many things. Sugar, porn, weed, you name it, alcohol. Anybody posted on Facebook recently on a Wednesday morning at 11:22, oh, where is wine o'clock coming? That's anxiousness, begging for a little bit of freedom. And I call this in my second book, the horny teenage boy syndrome. And unfortunately, Justin Bieber represents that. In fact, I'm a fan of his. But the world is stuck in this constant need for more. When? Now. What about tomorrow? Forget about that. We need it now. And this impatience is killing us. This horny teenage boy syndrome has created havoc for us. 150 years ago, we had something called slavery. I mean, how disgusting is that? In fact, it was so normal, the slaves thought it was normal. This horny teenage boy syndrome created an environment that 100 years ago, no woman voted, God forbid. Even the woman thought that was normal. 75 years ago, we had something called colonialism, which is a swear word in my mind. 50 years ago, we had segregation, which was normal, based on this immature, masculine, horny teenage boy syndrome of the need for more. 30 years ago, we had child labor that was happening around the world, based on greed and making profits the priority. 24 years ago, we had apartheid in our own country, based on the need for power. But everything started to change in 1989. Somehow, the environment we live in, the universe that we're in, started to shift. New seeds started to get planted. And in 1989, many amazing things happened. The first one, the Berlin Wall came down. And this was the beginning of the capitalism freedom beating communism and closed-mindedness. Also, what happened in 1989 was the Tiananmen Square incident happened, where China started to open up its political system, moving from a totally communist to somehow a socialist capitalist environment. Also, unfortunately, in 1989, the Exxon Valdez oil spill happened. This was the first time that we as humanity started asking questions about our impact on the environment. This is where the green movement really got its impetus. And also in 1989, the World Wide Web was invented, giving the opportunity for us to start sharing information, not just for the elite, but to everybody. Two of them that I don't have in here, Michelle Obama and Barack Obama went on their first date in 1989. Means nothing, but I thought it was a fun fact. Also, Nelson Mandela's negotiation for his release began in 1989. You can see that so many things started opening up in 1989. But the most important thing that happened in 1989 was that for the first time ever, the Western world's population, on an average, topped 40. For the first time ever in the history of humanity, the Americas, the Western world of Europe and Japan topped the age of 40 for the first time. And we know that when we top 40, we go from me to we. And this began the process of us moving away from a hierarchical model to become more of a collaborative model.
And really, ultimately what it is the rise of the feminine consciousness. We start to see this start to seep through every little part of our society. I mean, EQ, the understanding of emotional quotient, was only past the 2000s for us to understand that there was a space for our heart to start making decisions and not just down here or up here. And if you look at the world today, there's never been more powerful woman around. Michelle Obama's book now becoming a sensational #1 hit all over the world, plus the fact that the most influential people are not just women, but women of color. And we're starting to see this really start to grow around the world. That gives me a lot of joy. And I call this building businesses in a cathedral thinking sense. You see, if you built a cathedral in the 1600s, it would take 3 to 5 generations of your family to finish building it. Elegant, deliberate, conscious in the way we actually start moving into the future. And this always is based on making decisions from the curious place, the intuition that we have. And Steve Jobs said it best. He said, follow your heart and your intuition. Somehow already know what you truly want to become. And the second question I want to ask you is this, is in order for us to move into this future, we have to start letting go of our past. And here's the question, is are we living a life based on a set of memories from our past, or are we living a life based on the vision of our future? When we are dragging our past with us and not letting go of it because it justifies who we are, we can never grow into the potential that we are. A great quote by a guy called Alan Watts, he says this, he says, the knowledgeable man has to learn something new every day, but the wise man has to unlearn something new every day. And it's in this unlearning that gives us this idea, in order for us to prepare for a more conscious world, for a more aware world, what we have to do is understand that wisdom becomes a huge part of it. And if you want to know what wisdom is, it's this. It's memories with no triggers. When I think of my past, I'm so calm. That's really wisdom. And in order for us to prepare for this world in the future, what we need is a healthy dose of wisdom and a healthy dose of curiosity. This actually becomes an anti-disruption serum. Any business, any person can never be disrupted when they are wise and curious. And when you have wisdom and curiosity, you start to understand that ambition is elegant excellence with a healthy dose of patience. A much more conscious way about going and building businesses. So I don't think life is a game. I think life is a series of games. And when you understand this, when you're wise and curious about this, you then become patient and don't need to win every game. And when you start understanding the elegance that you can approach life with, you start getting invited to play more games. And that becomes winning at the games of life. Thank you for your attention.